we're a fairly large company with 24 full-time employees. Um, Whoever is the person that's in acquisition, who's a front-end person, you have to have a catalog of skills for your company that is very obvious to them, that should be very obvious to them. You'd be surprised at how you have this acquisition person that's running around the US not even knowing the sort of things that you really like to do. And so what we've done is we've institutionalized that process by basically giving them a checklist saying, when you're looking at an asset, this is how many points you give to the asset when it has burnt units. This is how many units you give to the point if it has spare land, and so on and so forth, right? Obviously, there's 10 different kinds of criteria. Because I gave you an example of burnt units, I'm going to stick with that. But what if you gave them a numeric criteria, which is, okay, by itself, the property gets 100 points, but these are all the other things that it gets points for, right? Now you've actually built this into their head so that your acquisition guy will never miss the questions that are important. I feel that most acquisitions people don't ask all of the right questions because were never given a McDonald's style menu, right? We did. It's only on a single page, so it's not some phenomenal thing. And we built half of it over time. But I think by giving that extra information to people, it allows us to see some opportunities that other people don't. Also, we are extremely disruptive in our thinking. I mean, I grew up in that Silicon Valley culture, whether it was in India or in Silicon Valley where I live now. And the culture is all about disruption, right? So we are taught to disrupt. We are taught to accelerate. We're taught 2x is a bad thing, 10x is a good thing, right? So go big or don't go at all. That's our thought process. And we are willing to commit to that with the risks that come with it. Let me give you an example. Phoenix is a really strong market, and we're building a very large project, $55 million project called the Crimson Falls. Sorry, we're building that project there, and when I tell people, okay, we're building in Mesa, they're like, Mesa, really? Why not Phoenix? And the answer is, what if I had a virtual assistant whose job was to basically look at the press releases that come from cities that are secondary cities in primary metros that I love. So I love Phoenix, but I don't buy anything in Phoenix. I love Orlando, but I don't buy anything in Orlando. I'm looking at Lakeland, which is about 40 miles from Orlando. And I'm looking, I have a list of these cities. I have a list of their city websites, and I'm reading press releases. And every once in a while, we've got a numbered system where we see those press releases and we go, this was interesting. So the city of Mesa, two or 2.5 years ago, decided we're going to build an entire section of Mesa that we're going to bring in terabit connections. Terabit is the fastest kind of internet connections you can get. And we're going to zone land industrial, but it can only be used to build data centers and nothing else. So you can't just build a warehouse, you have to build a data center. And so I was looking at that for a while, and I asked my partner for that area, start looking at this area because they're just going to build data centers. So by the time we were in acquisition on a piece of land, 2 completely unknown companies had built large data centers there. You've never heard of Apple or Google. These are small companies that build large data centers. And so there were these billion-dollar data centers, and believe it or not, the largest data center in this row, this street that just has only data centers, is not either Apple or Google. It's some company that I've never heard of, right? So eventually what happened is everyone else followed Apple and Google in and built even bigger data centers. Well, stuff like this is in the public domain. But how many syndicators are actually looking at, following press release from cities to figure out what a city is doing? Because just the land value in that area has tripled. I mean, and because places like Mesa, land's like, $5, $6 a square foot. I mean, it's cheap, right? And then somebody makes an announcement like that. 2 years later, the land's at $16 a square foot. Imagine how much money you would make just sitting on the damn land, right? The same sort of thing is happening. My current favorite city in the United States by a long shot. It's like when I look at my list right now, this city is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's how much I love this city. But no one, if I gave you a list of 100 cities, you wouldn't pick it from that list, even if I gave you 10 tries, right? The city is Idaho Falls, Idaho, right? Firstly, you wouldn't pick Idaho at all because it's like, Idaho, who the heck, potatoes, right? And then why would you pick Idaho Falls? You probably pick Boise, right? So, but the point is, The data shows today that Idaho Falls is in the most unique situation of any city in America, and happened to be the only city in America that gained population and gained jobs during the last 6 months. So every other city in America lost jobs, right? Which is normal. Nothing wrong with that. This one gained population, gained jobs. And you might say, why? Well, that's because there are billion-dollar government contracts that are fully funded now. And it's been a while, but now those contracts are rolling. So the number of people that they're needing to hire is in the thousands or tens of thousands of people. There's an energy lab that is in East Idaho that is driving all of this stuff. And it's funded for the next 15 years. So it's not like the local economy will be affected. So you go to East Idaho, it's insane. I mean, they practically haven't heard of COVID, right? They don't wear masks. It's a fairly open area. The density is low, so they don't have a lot of cases. But it's not like they have low cases, but they don't have a lot of them. And when I go into this marketplace, I can buy multifamily zoned land for $3 a square foot, $3 a square foot. Oh. There's no other good market in the U.S. where that number's under 15. So when I start, I have $12 a square foot as an advantage, which is huge because, I mean, $12 a square foot is a incredibly large advantage to have, right? I mean, I can make all kinds of screw ups and still end up with 25% IRR. Those kinds of things are easier to do today than 30 years ago. I mean, the software that I'm paying for, and I pay for such a huge number of them, Land Vision, I pay for Local Market Monitor, I pay for Housing Alerts, I pay for CoStar. I mean, we're not paying for CoStar anymore because, brokers send us report. I pay for 2 or 3 others, Neighborhood Scout. This software, Matthew, it costs 1/100th of what it used to in the 80s. 1/100th, right? People would charge you $30,000 a year for some subscription where you'd get this 200-page printed thing that would arrive in your home once a month, and you'd have to read this. No such thing as, cell phone alerts when a piece of land that comes up. Nothing like that existed. So it's 10 times more efficient, 1/100th of the cost. And I still see people not spending that money. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm just buying stuff from the marketplace. Well, good luck to you.